Welcome. Welcome to Monday live video. Welcome to our home as well, that's at least part of it. And welcome to my wife. Some of you may have seen the original interview with her. Actually, I think we've had two now.
Yeah.
So those are actually taken off of YouTube and then they're on the membership site if you want to know a little bit more about our background and how we met. And today we're going to be covering cryptocurrency and the future of finance. We're going to be talking about clairaudience, and then we're just going to have fun with talking about our relationship. We've got a bunch of questions here, all taken from Instagram. So thank you to those of you who submitted questions on Instagram. And what else? I guess I'll just kind of start with the announcements and then we'll dive right into it.
Cool.
Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is a little crypto disclaimer. We're not going to be giving any sort of crypto advice. This is not a financial advice video, so please just kind of use your discretion as always. Take or leave anything that's said today. And if you do want to deep dive a little bit more into crypto, Nat is going to be having a crypto course at some point in time. So if you're interested in something like that, then definitely sign up for her email list. And a couple other things. We've got the Galactic Federation Summit coming up on August 11th, and we're going to be talking about the food shortage. A lot of you have been asking me about that. I'm also curious about, is that the elite's next plan? Like, what's going on with that? Should we be worried? Should we be stocking up? And then we're also going to talk about, what else? Oh yeah, just kind of the light and dark battle, World War III. And then we're going to be talking about DNA upgrades and activations and so much more. So definitely, hopefully I see all of you at the Galactic Federation Summit. And then I also hope to see all of you at the Astral Travel Workshop that is happening August 19th. And yeah, so many of you have been asking me to teach about astral traveling and remote viewing, and that day has finally come. So I hope to see all of you there. And that's about it. Let's get into it.
Cool.
So let's start with clairaudience and psychic attacks. First question is, and I know a lot of you have like tinnitus or ringing in the ears. So the question is 24/7 ear ringing blocking my clairaudience? And before we kind of get into that, I just want to give people an update. If you don't know, my wife in the past year, actually it was this time last summer, where she started to open up all of her psychic and spiritual abilities, and her main ability is clairaudience. So it's been quite a journey, I think, just kind of navigating those abilities. So I'm not clairaudient. She can definitely speak to these sort of things. So what do you think, babe? 24/7 ear ringing, blocking. Is that blocking the clairaudience? Is it a gateway to the clairaudience?
You know, I've had like ear ringing my entire life. Like my dad actually has like a hearing aid, and my grandpa had a hearing aid, and they had just ear ringing their entire lives. And you know, my dad finally took care of it because he thought he had like a hearing problem. And I just always thought I could hear just like, whether it's the sound of a fan or the sound of electricity or the microwave, I can always hear some sort of like high-pitched ringing. And just from my research, it was that, you know, we all have different auditory levels where we can hear, you know, different ranges. And so it was really strange where last year, you know, when I started kind of opening up, I started realizing that I felt like I was hearing other things in another room. It sounded like there was like a conversation, like the TV was on and it was muffled. And fast forward to like getting psychic attacked, to then having like actually a spiritual encounter where a friend of ours, her brother had passed away, and one day I literally spoke back to what I heard, and I heard a response, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm crazy. And then I realized I'm not crazy. It's like, you know, we're all here for a reason, and I was able to talk to Elizabeth about it. But just to answer the question in short, I do hear ear ringing, but during the day, I don't really hear about it. I don't really think about it because I'm working and I'm doing things like that. But when I'm, I'm going to bed at night, I'm very, very aware of like if the fan is very loud or if something else is happening. I can start to hear and break down things, and that's when it starts to get really interesting because your mind's at ease at nighttime, and you can start having fun and explore. But it also can be really scary.
My perspective of ear ringing is that it's like a gateway. Like I really feel like any sort of frequency, like a radio station, is like a gateway into that realm, into the other dimensions that help you tune into the clairaudience. So I think that people who have ear ringing all the time, tinnitus, right? I think that they're naturally clairaudient. Like my dad has had tinnitus, all right, his whole life. And when he was around 20 years old, he said, I want to hear everyone's thoughts. And in a moment, he heard everyone's thoughts. It all opened up for him. And he got so overwhelmed and so freaked out, he shut it all down. And so that's just a good indication. I've never had ear ringing, and I also don't have clairaudience. So I think that the two are linked for sure. And I feel like the ear ringing is a gateway to getting into it. So instead of trying to block it out, instead of trying to distract yourself from it, I think it's important to concentrate, to focus on the ear ringing and the frequency of the ring, and to actually see if you can dive into that frequency and work with it rather than against it. So I know that every once in a while I'll get some sort of download or upgrade, and I'll get a high-pitched sound in my ear, usually one or the other. And to me, that always indicates some sort of energy flowing through me.
And something too that kind of comes to mind is that it's strange, but you can hear your own thoughts. And so sometimes I will be just like I'll be going to bed, and I'll be setting intentions or things like that. And there's a difference between your own thoughts and another outside message coming in, and playing with playing with, can I hear my thoughts versus hearing an outside noise, and separating the two, and almost like splitting your auditory ability in half to basically play with what you can hear actually can help with your clairaudience, because you can close your eyes and listen to music, and you can actually move the music in your ear from one side to the next, kind of like when you have headphones, and that's by just using your, I guess it's ear muscles. I don't know if there's such a thing with ear muscles, but you can play with that. And so I guess I've been playing with that my whole life, but kind of going into the spirituality part, it's important to be able to have control of what are your own thoughts versus what are intrusive thoughts versus what are radio waves and all that stuff. So it's definitely a learning lesson.
And that actually kind of leads us to the next question, which is how to discern messages you receive if they are totally random or don't make sense. And I think a good question to kind of pose it with what I know you've experienced is, what do you do when you receive just a totally random, off the wall, unsolicited message? Just what do you do? Like, so you've been through it. You used to pay attention to all of the thoughts and think that they were all messages from the divine. And now what? Now when you receive something random, what's the first thing that you do?
I actually first ask myself, is this me just having because our minds are like supercomputers, and I think that when we're sleeping we're processing things, and when we're not thinking, when we're just being quiet, we're processing things. And so by learning how to hear your own inner voice or inner thoughts, I sometimes have realized that a lot of what I'm hearing is just my own brain garbage, if that makes sense. It's just words and things that are kind of like out there. But when I can tell that the energy is a little bit darker, is that overall it makes me feel uncomfortable, just the physical effect of feeling uncomfortable. And as simple as just imagining myself just surrounded by white light and just saying positive affirmations that are just higher vibrational than the message that I hear, that it will make me feel better. But also something else that I really definitely recommend is the beautiful Bose headphones, because those noise canceling headphones really, really, really work. I've learned to sleep with them. Sound probably really uncomfortable, but like when I was getting attacked at nighttime, it was like literally the only thing that could get me through the night.
So essentially what you're saying is the first thing to do, I just want to point out something. Divine feminine communicator, divine masculine communicator. That, it was beautiful what you said. It was just a lot.
It's a loop.
I'm going to translate. Basically, when a message comes in and you're not sure what to make of it, you ask the question, how does this make me feel? And if you don't know how it makes you feel, then you put out white light frequency, just love, positive, high vibes. And whatever the thing is, whatever the being, the entity, the energy, the spirit guide, whatever it is, parallel self, if it's matching that highest vibration, it will stick around. The message will persist. If it is not of the highest vibration, it's going to get out of there really quickly, right? So discernment. Personally, what I'll find and what I've kind of remembered through your experiences with kind of waking up to these abilities is, if anything, if any being is coming through and trying to hook you in with information that it thinks you want, like, you're gonna win the lottery, hey, or that chick 3 years ago did something bad to you and you should go check her out on Facebook. It's like information that isn't actually serving your highest purpose, especially unsolicited information. Your spirit guides will never give you anything that you do not ask for. If it's unsolicited, most likely 9 times out of 10, it's bad, and ignore it, okay? And thank you so much to Sharma, as always, for the super chat and support.
And just really quick, something that Sharma taught me, because when I was going through this experience last year, I felt like I was being spoken to maybe by a high vibrational being one time, and then the second time it wouldn't feel high vibrational. And when I spoke to Sharma used this word impersonator. And so I was like, what do you mean impersonator? And it's like, literally, it's like a dark entity that's basically taking the energy on of the light entity to convince you that you're speaking to the same person, but then you start going down like a rabbit hole. And so, there's this almost like vetting now when I'm channeling and I'm receiving a message where I ask specific questions that, I don't know, maybe that it's like the Galactic Council or what you would call it. Like there's certain rules that they have to they have to go by. And so I have like my own little keyword, which is like kind of like you put like a do not disturb sign on like a hotel room. I basically say do not disturb, and I like think of a visual door slamming, and I'm putting that kind of do not disturb sign on, and I literally hear, okay, we're going away. It's almost like they know that that's an energetic door that I have slammed, that I've said I do not want any business to do with you.
Because they have to abide by the law of free will. And a lot of the times we want the information that they're giving us, so we do get hooked into that darker energy. It's very, very manipulative. And I re-experienced all the freaking tactics when I observed your journey in the past year. And huge shout out to Sharma. She has been an absolute lifesaver. Sharma is one of my dearest friends, one of my oldest friends too. And she checks our energy all the time. She clears our energy all the time. And she's not only helped you and cleared you, but she's taught you how to clear yourself. So I just want to put it out there. And maybe Lauren, if you can grab, or Sharma, if you want to put your website down, Shiamat, I believe, shiamatsystems.com. But yeah, if you want to like link your website, like if anyone is experiencing dark energy, if anyone it feels like they're constantly getting attacked, Sharma is your go-to girl. She's incredible. All right, next question. Last question about clairaudience, and then we're going to move on to crypto and finance. How to increase your clairaudience? I don't know.
Honestly, it's I would definitely start listening to like binaural beats. Something called hemisync, which is a version of binaural beats. Cool. But listening to binaural beats, understanding the different frequencies and what they mean. And then honestly getting a pair of noise canceling headphones to really kind of learn what you can hear. Listen to your favorite music. Try to play with the sounds in your ear, closing it off on one side, opening it up onto the other side. 5-minute meditations, but always before you go into any sort of channeling, setting the intention of what you're trying to achieve, and being really high vibrational about it. It's okay to ask for what you want, but don't just go in and say, okay, my third eye is open and give me what you got, because believe it or not, it's not that I didn't believe any of this stuff existed. It just never happened to me until I experienced it. And then once you experience it, you're just like, holy crap, you don't want to have your third eye open all the time, because, you can't sleep, you can't function. And I was just the person that was, with the psychic. I didn't expect to get the clairaudience. And so really, really, really cool, but also confusing, and it just kind of makes you question everything too. And also it's very important too to discern the difference between a mental health issue and also clairaudience. And so hearing things and thinking things, always make sure that you check with yourself and your mental health counselor to make sure that you have all those things taken care of. I'm on the spectrum. I have ADHD. I'm mildly autistic, and I've been in therapy for years. I've had mental health counseling sessions. I'm on certain prescription medications, so I'm very aware of what I take, when I take it, where I am when information comes in, because I'm personally very sensitive to things. And so, add any alcohol or weed or any sort of substance, you cannot discern the difference between light and dark. And so it's just really, really important to be grounded before you go and start opening up, into other dimensions.
That was great. That's great advice. Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely check yourself before you want to open yourself, because if you're doing it from a place of low vibration, desire, attachment, expectation, it's not a good place to open yourself, and you're leaving yourself very vulnerable as well. All right, fantastic. And thank you so much, Greta, for that beautiful super chat and the support. Really, really appreciate that. Okay, let's get into crypto. Also your realm, totally not my realm. Full control. No. I'm just giving the control away. I'm practicing vulnerability. Okay, so I actually have my own opinions on this.
Take control. You're YouTube live.
Okay, is the stock market collapsing to be replaced by the crypto market? And is crypto more reliable than the stock market? What do you think?
So the stock market's not going away. Actually, the stock market just introduced new cryptocurrency options for Ethereum, and the market cap's bigger actually than Bitcoin. So stock is definitely not going away. The way the stock market's going to run in the future, it's going to have cryptocurrency involved within its financial trading systems. So that's number one. Number two, I think that the goal with cryptocurrency really is not only to have a sovereign currency, so that countries third world countries or developing countries can have access to resources. There's literally people in other countries where their monetary system's worthless, so they're back to the archaic trading of things, right? And so by giving access to these people without any form of currency, it gives them the ability to exchange for goods and services and different things like that. So it's not going away. It's just it's going to be managed a little bit more, I think, and controlled by Western governments, because over the past probably 10 years, a lot of people have used cryptocurrency, yes, as a means for money laundering. Yes, they've used cryptocurrency to hide and not pay for taxes. But with the recent regulations, it's actually important to kind of lock that down, because there's the opposite side too, where there's a lot of people that are probably listening to this that are totally scared to get into cryptocurrency because they think they're going to lose all their money. So there has to be a balance of a little bit of control and also a little bit of regulation to be able to get to that future goal. And I believe that we're headed into that direction where The stock market is resetting. If you look at any sort of stock like Netflix or anything like that, completely down. But it's because they were way too high over COVID, right? Because these were the stay-at-home stocks. And so now as Bitcoin has plunged down, and now as stocks have plunged down, it doesn't mean things are collapsing. Actually, it means that it's people can afford things. So it's a good time actually to get involved into both the stock market and cryptocurrency.
Do you think, the second part to that question, do you think crypto is more reliable than the stock market in general, long term? I mean, clearly crypto is way more volatile, right? It's way, like, long term, do you think crypto is more reliable than the stock market?
It depends on what your goals are. For example,
that's true.
Bitcoin is worth, let's say, $23,000 at this point where I'm speaking today. And there's a gentleman out there. His name's Michael Saylor, and he believes that that Bitcoin will hit $100,000 a coin. By, let's say, the end of 2023. Now, that's very volatile. That's very risky. They say anything that any sort of investment that promises you a 20% return, you have to question, right?
Absolutely.
So just like the stock market, if you are going in there with a gambling mindset thinking you're going to win it all, you're probably going to lose it. People that invest in the stock market that want to make a return, they're investing for the long term, and they are investing in stable stocks such as Ford, such as Coca-Cola, such as companies that have been around for a long time. I mean, Tesla stock was $1,400 5 months ago, and it's $600 now.
Yeah.
Tesla's not going anywhere, but think about kind of like what your grandfather invested in. Those are the things that are still sticking around. There are index funds that you get paid every year, and you just keep it in there. So if you're trying to save money for, let's say, your child's going to college in 18 years, putting it in something that is more secure, such as like an index fund or something such as Bitcoin, it's going to grow, and you're going to see it grow. If you're trying to make money really quickly, you need to really be careful with what you're doing, and you need to kind of either get some sort of consultation or kind of look at what you're willing to risk, because they always say don't invest in anything unless you're willing to lose it.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's kind of the same thing. So if you put something away for 20 years, you're willing to lose it because you're not going to touch it for 20 years.
All right, that's all over my head. But next question. What do you believe the future of finance looks like?
Well, I think that's
a pretty loaded question.
I mean, the future of finance is already, we're online. PayPal, I think, really paved the way with paying people digitally and stuff like that. Everything's really pretty much a cashless system now. So we're paying with our, tapping the card and paying with Venmo and things like that. So the future of finance is 100% digital. The future of finance, I believe, is that there's going to be point of sale systems where you're going to be able to check out with cryptocurrency. You will probably see that within the next 2 or 3 years. Actually, in Las Vegas, where we live, they have crypto Bitcoin ATM machines, believe it or not, out of all places. And so I can explain how that works later if you want to message me on the chat support, but it's kind of mind-blowing. But in the future, it will definitely
be digital.
It'll be digital. I think that you can kind of look at paying someone via PayPal as paying someone via Bitcoin. There's going to be a little bit more standardization so that people feel secure, I think, with their wallets. There's been a lot of hack attempts in the past couple of years. So,
and we're going to talk about keeping crypto safe.
Yep.
Personally, it all freaks me out because I just feel like the dollar signs in our bank account aren't safe. I feel like the dollar signs in a crypto wallet aren't safe. Like, I'm such an old school, like, I'm precious metals. I love precious metals, more so than even like a $20 bill. And it's beautiful because even when I met Nat, she had precious metals just like I had precious metals. So both her and I are very diverse in our assets in that way. But For me anyway, I just feel like the only real material wealth is something you can hold in your hand. That's just me. That's just my old school mentality.
But the problem is, just to say
Yeah.
about gold, even though I have gold, like some gold, like coins too, is like, have you ever actually tried to cash that in? Right.
I know.
So can you imagine like someone going in with like a gold bar
But look,
and
look,
like trying to like
look,
cash it in? I mean,
if
it's the end
shit
of the
hits-
world. Like
if
it's just that also is a little
But
like
if
questionable.
shit hits the
You know
fan
what I mean?
and a
Yeah.
huge freaking solar flash
Yeah.
hits the fucking planet and wipes out everything,
I don't think gold matters at that point.
right? Then what? Then what
Yeah.
do we do? Yeah, so interesting. Okay. We're gonna talk about how to keep crypto safe in a bit, but next question is, what is the best way to invest in an online world, in a digital world? And I'm just gonna start off, and there's crypto, there's NFTs, there's now crypto, or I don't know, there's all this stuff. Personally, I recommend, and I've always recommended, digital or not digital world, is diversify. I just believe that in general, and this is what actually I've channeled from the Galactic Federation quite a bit, is diversify your assets as much as possible. And we're not just talking material or monetary assets, we're talking about investing in things as well, physically, like what I've said before, is just survival stuff. It's like, if shit does, worst case scenario, hit the fan, you're still living a decent life, right? So I always say, like, hope for the best, plan for the worst. We're in a very tumultuous time on the planet, and that's why I'm so grateful that I have a partner who cares about the digital world, who's into cryptocurrency, who understands NFTs and all of that, because I couldn't care less, but I also feel like it's really great to have one egg in all of the baskets. So I feel like the best way to invest, period, is diversify as much as possible. You never want to have all your eggs in one basket. What do you think, babe? Like, what's the best way to invest at this time?
So, like anything, you want to keep your stuff. You want to keep your cash. You want to keep your gold. You want to keep your cryptocurrency safe. And so, the banks in the United States, they have, your FDIC insured up to $100,000. Well,
Right.
The reason why banks have your money is because they're leveraging against it to make trades, right? That's pretty much what they're doing, right? They're saying, thank you for working. Here's your paycheck. Put it in this bank account so we can borrow against it,
Right.
and so keeping things safe is actually more like being aware of your budget, being aware of what you can afford, being aware of where things are, how to access your money easily. Like one of the things, like this, like a simple thing, like when I met Elizabeth, she had all of her passwords like in a Google Doc. Right. And I was like, someone could steal that. Like, that's so stupid. Not sorry, but that's why you want to use like a password manager, right? To keep all your passwords safe. So you have to start on, so, if we're moving into a digital world, you need to start out with, don't write them in a book. Don't write them in Google Sheets. Put them in we use Dashlane as an example. You have all your passwords in Dashlane. It's accessible. We have a security key. That's number one. And that's including your banking information, your all that kind of stuff. The second thing is that if you are going to get involved in crypto, really understand some basics. The basics are, when you sign up for an account, you're going to register with an email address and a password. They're going to give you a seed phrase. Never share that seed phrase with anybody. I'm going to tell you that the first time I ever tried to buy an NFT, it's like so embarrassing. I basically bought an NFT. I joined a Discord. I got a mod basically messaged me saying, hey, we need to whitelist your crypto. Your NFT artwork. Please provide XYZ. I gave them my seed phrase. They took over my MetaMask wallet, and I lost $2,500. Okay, I was so embarrassed to tell Elizabeth. This was like 3 years ago. But you know what? That was the best experience to
Yeah.
happen. Not only did I feel like I just like took a lighter and I burned my money, I actually learned a really important lesson. And I think that a lot of people don't understand when they're getting into it. Oh, it's so simple. Sign up, and then you're good. So it's like step number 1, get a password manager. Step
Yeah.
number 2, never share your seed phrase. And so, the third thing is that, recently, all of these exchanges like FTX and BlockFi, some of these exchanges, so people have, let's say, 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoin, that's $60,000. It could be their life savings. The exchange won't let them withdraw. You know why? Because the exchange is out of money. And in the terms and conditions that you sign, they actually have the right to use your money, your Bitcoin.
Just like banks.
Just like banks.
But there's no protection.
But there's no protection. You can't pull it out. So you're just like, WTF. No one's going to respond to your customer service request. No one's going to help you. You're completely liable for your crypto investment. So there's one thing you can do. Anybody that has crypto right now is get it off of the exchanges. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to actually do a basic crypto course, was because if by chance, and let me tell you, if I recently did this myself, I had some Bitcoin that was on an exchange, BlockFi, that actually got halted, which means that if I would have not done my withdrawal request sooner, I potentially could have lost my money. It wasn't a rug pull. I agreed for them to keep my money based on the terms of service. It's super fucked up, but you have to understand how cryptocurrency and blockchains work. So when you get to the second step, right, which is how do you keep it safe? You keep it safe by having something like this. You're like, what is this? So this is actually a fireproof bag,
and EMF.
an EMF detector, and then you have something that looks like a hockey puck, right? So if I turn this on, it actually shows me my cryptocurrency balance. And if I lost my seed phrase, I would basically completely lose my crypto, but my crypto is off the exchange. So basically what I did is I bought a hardware wallet off of Amazon. I waited for the money to get deposited into, basically it's an app that it comes with it. And then I put in a security code and it transfers it into this hardware wallet. So basically I will not lose my cryptocurrency because, if our house could literally burn down and I could still have access to this because I have my seed phrase. This actually could even go away because I have my seed phrase on that metal card.
Yeah. So the way that I understand this, which I might be getting it totally wrong. So,
Okay.
So this puck thing, it's like taking your money from the bank, which would be the exchange, and just having your money in your wallet.
Yes. Yes.
Huh?
Perfect. Yes.
Pro? Am I a pro?
But if your wallet has a hole in it, which means you don't have your seed phrase, you've also lost your money.
Right.
So there, as I said, so it's just like step by step. Keep your password safe. Keep your cryptocurrency off an exchange, especially now.
Yeah.
Invest in a hardware wallet. I can recommend this one. I can probably send a link out to people if they're interested. Yeah.
And then the last crypto question, and then we're going to get into relationship stuff, is, and I think I'm going to respond to this one, because I even read this question to you, and you're like, I don't know how to respond to that.
I might have an opinion.
Oh.
Okay.
Why is the response to crypto so divided? And so, and I know the sentiment behind this question. So, like, the part of the conspiracy, and I use that word very lightly, part of the elite agenda, let's say, okay, without feeding into conspiracy phrase, is that the globalization, the one world government, the agendas, right? What they're trying to get to is one currency to be able to control us all. And so this is why, especially in the spiritual community, half the spiritual community is like so on board with crypto, and half the spiritual community is like, whoa, we're literally feeding into the mouth of the beast here. And so that's why it's divided, is because there's an agenda that has been talked about for a very long time, long before crypto was ever even a thing. So here's my perspective on that divide. The first thing I want to say is there absolutely is an agenda, and that's why it freaks me out a little bit to say, all my money is digital, and in that way, if I say something online that the elites don't like, they can just freeze all my assets, and they can do that. And the FBI already does that. The CIA or the governments already do that, right? It's just freeze your assets the second anything happens, which is freaky to me. So I think that there definitely is an agenda going in that direction. However, there's this other side of it, which is crypto especially, maybe, without the hacking and the whatever, but it's like encrypted, right? Like it's pretty protected, and it's pretty run by the people for the most part. I think that there's a lot of, there's good and bad in everything. And what I see right now with the stock market, just from a perspective where I don't know anything about anything, is that, the big companies are crashing, and the power and the money is being brought back into the people's hands. So there is a shift that's happening. Now, whether we talk about crypto or we talk about, government, or we talk about the Galactic Federation, there's always going to be a light and a dark perspective of everything. So I think that it's valid that there's a divide there. And I think, just like I've said recently, it's how we feed that vision. If we feed the vision with fear, then we're going to be stuck, and we're never actually going to be moving forward. If we feed the vision with unity and harmony and freedom for everyone and equality for everyone, that's how we feed that vision. So I think that both are legitimate, and I also think that that there is something really beautiful about this digital currency that we can move into. But once again, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and have other assets, have physical material assets as well. It's just like those people who have a fancy car, but they live in like a terrible part of town. It's like, stop trying to show or put everything into crypto and then have nothing to show for it in this real life. Mm-hmm. I feel like the digital world, like the computers, the technology, it's a different dimension. So invest in the third dimension just as much as you're investing in the other dimensions. As always, it's balance.
Totally. And I'll just add to that before we jump to the next topic. Yeah. There are like so many types of cryptocurrencies, and the first thing is that they have something called, in the stock market, they call them blue chip stocks, right? That's Facebook, that's Google, that's can't think of it. You know what I'm talking about. So they have they call it blue chip crypto, and blue chip crypto is the Bitcoins of the world, Ethereum. So the top one. So if you're going to invest in something that's more stable, I would recommend looking at that. And then all of those other cryptocurrencies, they're volatile. They're very volatile. Bitcoin and Ethereum are volatile as well, but those really aren't going anywhere. And one of the things I can say is that when you start kind of like unraveling the onion, or peeling back the onion and learning about it, you start to realize that there's a set of basics that apply to all cryptocurrency, and then there's the reason why the cryptocurrency exists. And so if you want to invest in something, I would highly suggest that you believe in it, just similar to the stock market, right? If you believe in Tesla, invest in Tesla. It doesn't matter what other people think about. When people weren't giving Elon, they were going to say, oh, whatever, they were invested in Tesla, and Tesla went up to $1,400 last year. Hopefully they sold. It doesn't matter. If you believe in something, you should go ahead and invest in it. But again, it's your decision. And I think that recently, back in May, there was a huge collapse of a crypto called Luna. And Do Kwon, which is the CEO of Terraform, he basically is a very scandalous person that is being charged by the Chinese government for doing some really crazy things. And I mean, they lost billions of dollars. People actually lost their life, right? So you have all these people that went all in, believing in something, and and they had governance, and they had things that were set up, and everything seemed fine. But then all of a sudden it was like a rug pull, and everybody lost their money. And then now there's a new bunch of people trying to get back into it. But again, it's like you have to risk what you can lose, right? You should believe in what you're investing in. And if something doesn't have, like if it's a new cryptocurrency and it doesn't have a lot of social media following, and you're trying to get pulled in by something, I would really question it.
Yeah. I like that. I think just like starting a business, you have to really start a business that you truly believe in rather than just start something that you think you're going to make money off of. It's following that passion. If you believe in a company because it's woman owned, just throwing it out there, and it's part of your passion and you feel like it's doing good in the world, then that's what you should invest in, is follow the resonance. So I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Okay, the fun stuff.
Okay.
Also, before we get into relationship talk, if you want to dive deeper into crypto and you're interested in Nat's mind, which is brilliant, by the way. Nat is by far the smartest person I've ever met, and I don't say that lightly because I have met a lot of very smart people. Are you blushing? Oh,
Keep
well,
talking.
it's true. Okay, it's true. But yeah, she has an email list right now, and she'll notify you, when she kind of creates a course and has something to put out there. But if you are interested in deep diving, then definitely sign up for the email list and see where that goes.
Thanks.
Okay, relationships. So, first question: does a soul have a desire to be straight or gay?
Okay, well,
What do you think?
I came out at like 14, so I've just always been like
I call her OG
gay, but like I don't really feel like gender doesn't feel like anything, right? So I don't feel like female or male or what gay or straight is. Like it just doesn't, to me, these are all labels that are defined by our society to separate this and that and dark and light, and it just everything has to have a label. So what's the question again? So does a soul have a desire to be straight or gay? No, a soul doesn't have a desire to be straight or gay. A soul has a desire to rise themselves to a higher level of consciousness, to get to nirvana or get to a better place. These labels and the politically correctness, I could go off on this, but it's like everything has to have a label. And it's like, as a person that's been part of the LGBT community, I've seen every other year an extra letter get added to the Pride Parade, or a letter removed, or a letter written to the mayor because they didn't include a letter. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, then you have all the people in the first beginning of the letter feel like they're not part of the group anymore because there's more letters at the end, and so it's like, who gives a shit? It's like, who gives a shit? It's like, and you know what? If the soul doesn't have an ego, which it shouldn't, right? Then it shouldn't matter if labels are important or not, So just to answer that question, I do not believe that souls should. It doesn't matter if it's gay or straight. Also, souls are genderless. We have, if you believe in past lives, then you are different genders. You've been them all. Yeah. And I believe that some of the most masculine men have the most amazing feminine qualities that come out in different ways, and some of the most amazing feminine women are badass, bosses. Yeah.
I completely agree with all of that. And like personally, I've never been with a woman before. I've always been with men, but I've always had tons of gay friends, gay male friends, gay female friends. Hit up all the parties with all the gay people, and I've been told my whole life, oh, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay. I guess because I ride a motorcycle and I'm a bit of a tomboy, but I never had a desire to even kiss a woman. Like, I wasn't even that person to go to a bar and get drunk and make out with her girlfriend. Like that just wasn't who I was. But when I met Nat, it was like, oh, no, I'm kidding. No, but it's like, and then I had people come up to me saying, oh, well, what are you now? Are you bi? And I'm like, no. Oh, are you gay? I'm like, no. Like, why do you have to categorize it? So I'm such a big believer in letting go of the labels, and you and I totally agree on that front, which I love, because we come from very different gay backgrounds, and now we're together without the labels.
But there's also the need to have, like, we're married, and with the recent abortion ban in the United States, there's more bills to kind of question, the sanctity of gay marriage and all these things. Well, of course, I don't want my rights taken care of, ripped from me. Yeah. But it's also like, I'm a human too, and there should be some basic rights. There's a line. There's a difference between basic rights and having a label that is 20 letters long and having every company that has to adhere to it because June and it's Pride Month.
The politically
It's just,
correctness.
it's just things are so extreme
Yeah.
that they're imbalanced, and I think we need to get to a place where we're just there's acceptance, and then there's also things that you can question, and you go through the right procedures to get those laws passed as we move forward, but it's a touchy subject for sure.
I think you bring up a good point, which is like recognizing minorities. And so, I have gone on tangents and rants about labels before, just like you did, because we agree on that. And I just want to mention that it is so profoundly obvious that minorities still exist, like especially being a Canadian and going to America and being absolutely mind blown that women, okay, not to mention women of color, are being paid far less for the same job, probably doing it way better than men, just white men. And that's a fact. Like, so, I believe that at a certain point in time, we're going to get to a place where everyone is equal and everyone is treated equal, just like everyone has the right to marry whoever they want, regardless of gender or sexual orientation. So I do know that we have to recognize the minorities, and I know that society has to put labels on minorities in order to recognize them, in order to get to a place of equality. But I'm really hoping that we get to a place of equality sooner, rather than becoming more politically correct and, in a sense, way more divided in these minorities. It's actually not helping, So yeah, so Nat and I 100% are on the same page with that, and many things actually. Okay, next relationship question. Do you find it difficult to navigate a relationship when you're both so busy?
So we're in a relationship right now, so we're having a good time navigating. So we're doing well. I work with Elizabeth, and I'm sure some people listening to this they've talked to me on intercom, and so it's all about balance. I used to be a project manager in my in past careers, and so I'm very schedule oriented. So we take time for date night. We take time for having dinner together, every night. So I think that, it's important to honor the things that were just as important when you met, even if it's 5 years, 20 years down the line, because it blows my mind that you have these people in these relationships that are so checked out, and they cheat on each other and they do all these things, and it's like, God, when was it that one opportunity that you could have made dinner or just sat down and had a conversation with your partner that you could have kind of saved that? So I think that there's an importance to basically having dinner with your family every night, or just checking in with each other, whether it's a phone call every day. So, even though we work from home, we work on the same business, we take time to separate, between work and personal, and it's super important, because I've been in relationships before where, I become, the person that's just, I'm the partner, but it's kind of a blah. It's kind of blah. You know what I mean? And you stop having sex.
Oh,
you
the
stop.
relationship.
Yeah, you stop. They call it lesbian bed death. Where you stop having sex. So it's like I've been through all that. So it's like you got to keep up. You got to keep up with the Joneses in a sense, where you got to
Make the time.
You got to dot your I's and cross your T's. And show up.
And I think too, like, it's healthy boundaries. Like, I don't know if you guys are in a relationship where you work in the same house, right? But what's really beautiful about Nat and I and our relationship in particular is we complete each other in the way that it's going to sound funny to even say, but like all the human things, all the personal things, I thrive at. If it's planning a trip, booking hotels, booking flights, if it's tending the garden, you're good at walking the dog too, but like cleaning the house, making dinner, I love all of.
She's stereotyping herself.
I actually love vacuuming. I love cleaning the bathrooms. Like, I am that pumps me up. Okay. I just like throw on a podcast and I'm like in my zone, and I love that. I love the personal aspect, the human aspect of life, whereas Nat couldn't care less about those things. And then there's all these things that she thrives at and really cares about, which is, how the business runs and operates and customer service and getting the website to a point where it's intuitive and efficient and running smoothly. And once again, I couldn't care less about those things, but she cares a lot about them, and we complete each other in that way. So, whatever it is in your life, right? Having a partner that loves to do the things that you hate doing is totally a bonus. And I just feel like our relationship is, I've never had a relationship where we complete each other in that way. But sometimes when we're talking too much about work and it's 11 p.m., I gotta just put up the freaking white flag and say, look, like, healthy boundaries. I don't want to talk about work in this moment. And we're at a point where we can be open and honest about those healthy boundaries and what I need in a moment or what she needs in a moment. And we're open about that. So I think that's the healthy boundaries is really important, especially when you are so busy and we don't even have kids yet, but that's going to add an extra layer to the relationship. And I think so far we're killing it,
Yeah. I mean, I just think that I spent a lot of time in some crappy relationships, and it's because I justified their actions. And, I'm not perfect, but I chose the wrong partners, and I always questioned why it wasn't working. And I realized that the people that I attracted weren't lifting me up in general, right? So regardless of them being spiritual or not, they're just, they could be healthy and be into fitness, but there still wasn't this level of love, meaning like, you can do better than that, or I can, next time you're gonna, go even farther, it just, there's a certain level of leveling up each other. And I think that staying in a relationship or meeting someone that can really kind of bring out the best in you to make you feel content, that you can actually discover who you are, because that's another thing. I spent so long trying to figure out who I was, trying to meet all these different types of people, feeling like I was almost kind of changing who I was to basically mold who they were to meet, for us to match. And that's when I realized that I've always been the same person, but I just never had the right person around to actually help me articulate who I am in my best light, And so I think that we all have this best light of opportunity within all of us, and we do have to question who we're with and who we're friends with, because we all just want to be happy,
Yeah. Okay, next question. Did you have to overcome any childhood wounds as a couple? I thought this was a really interesting and really good question. And I'll start off by saying absolutely. I think we all come into this life either with childhood wounds, which I believe we all experience deep childhood wounding, even if it's a simple wound, to re-experience this karmic energy from past lifetimes. So I think any couple is going to come into it with either past life traumas or childhood traumas. And I know for me, it was mostly the sexual stuff and the blocks, and I'm still working on unpacking that. And I've been very open in previous videos about, my own journey and trying to help all of you through that journey as well of having those blocks. And then I would say for you, it was the attachment anxiety. Right? Of like, yeah.
So, I mean, I grew up an only child, and my brother was born when, I was I believe 13, but, I was the only kid. My parents were, my dad was in the hotel industry. We lived in a hotel. We lived in Egypt. So I had kind of like a crazy upbringing. But, making friends for me growing up was really hard because we traveled so many different places. We lived in 12 different places by the time I was 13. So trusting people was really difficult for me. So, I ended up growing up and, figuring out my own sexual identity, orientation, all that. I was burned by friends and girls, and I started losing the confidence of who I really was. And so that was the other thing why I go back to always make sure you have the right people in your life, and don't put energy into trying to fix somebody. Try to be around people that will lift you up, because you're going to constantly, it's a losing game, and finding the right relationship will definitely bring out the best in you.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So next question. Let's do this one. How do you navigate when one of you is having a breakdown?
So she shuts down when she's having a breakdown, but she doesn't like shut down. She doesn't have very many breakdowns, but
It's
you
a
know,
divine masculine thing. It's like,
it's
stay away from
you
me.
know, I mean,
I don't want to talk about it.
It's like, you know,
I want to be alone, play video games.
So you know, like, we're on YouTube, so like, she's a person that has to have a camera in front of her face. This is her career, and you know, people.
What do you mean I have to have a
No,
camera?
no. I don't mean like that. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is that, like, you know, community, like someone, like if she's reading comments and someone like a troll says something nasty, or you know, she'll read it and she'll get hurt, you know, and she'll kind of close inwards, and you know, I'm like, that's why you can't read all the comments. And so what happens at that point, sometimes she closes up and I need to leave her alone because that's what she needs. Sometimes she closes up and I need to kind of do the, you know, dance of like, what do you want? Can I give you a hug? Like there's like, I don't want to annoy you more, you know, and also the other thing is, like, I learned to not take things personally, because every time in all my other relationships, when they were in a bad mood, I was like immediately thinking it was me, right? And so, like, for anyone that like is always feeling like they're walking on eggshells, it's not you, it's them, and there's nothing wrong, right?
Yeah.
So
I also think when we first got together, I was doing like 5 sessions a day, like one-on-one client sessions, and I was channeling. Like, that's not just therapy and holding space. Like, that is like bringing their information through me. And so I was so done. Like, I was so at max capacity energetically at the end of every day. I couldn't have a conversation. I had no emotional bandwidth at all to hold space for her. And so I was really shut down at the beginning of our relationship, and now I'm way more present, way more emotionally available, hopefully. And I would say that the way that I navigate, what's also beautiful about a relationship is, you know, like every human being goes through challenges. And what's really cool is, for the past 4 years since we've been together, when I'm going through a really big challenge, she's in a really great place and she can always bring me up. And when she's going through a really big challenge or, you know, turning point or psychic attacks, I'm always in a really good place to bring her up. So we really do, it's like both of us are never sick at the same time, in a sense, even though we don't really get sick. It's just the emotional stuff. And it's always so balanced that we always have the strength to lift each other up in those moments. Which is beautiful. Okay, and then let's do last question, which is, tell us about a previous past life you've had together. And before I go into this past life that Nat didn't want me to talk about, I just want to reiterate a couple of the announcements, which is we've got the Astral Travel Workshop coming up on August 19th, so definitely check that out. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And then we also have the Galactic Federation Summit coming up. I'm going to ask them about food shortages, DNA activations, agendas, World War III, where are we at with everything that's going on. You know, last month we had the Inner Earth Summit, which is a bit of a different flavor. And this month we're kind of back to the black and white of things. Like, what do we need to know right now? The world is very divided. How do we move forward from here? So definitely check that out. It's happening on August 11th, as per usual. And Nat and I have had many past lives together. And the one that I wanted to bring up immediately that she told me not to is our very last past life on the planet. We've also had multiple past lives off the planet. And this was in like the late 1800s. I want to say mid to late 1800s. It was in England. And we were both men in that lifetime. I was younger, she was older. And she was like a big deal, actually. She was an underground, like, kind of, not a club promoter, but Nat would like put together different parties, and they were gay parties, basically. And back then in the 1800s, especially, you know, at that time, you know, that just wasn't accepted. It just wasn't normalized. And so it really had to be underground. I was just like so against the grain. And I was like this young man. And I ended up like stumbling across one of these parties, and I met her, and she was, once again, she like ran the show. She was a big deal, and we ended up being gay lovers together. Are you blushing?
Yeah. It's just like, it's like, now you know.
Love it.
I guess
now
you know. Now you know.
Now you know.
Yeah.
We've been gay quite a bit in past lifetimes, which is such a shock to me.
Like, when am I straight? Like,
I know, yeah. You've been like OG gay in many of your lifetimes, but I think like you in particular hold space for other gay people and pave the way. Like Nat used to do same sort of thing, club promoting in Los Angeles, and like once again holding space. Was the head of like Lesbians Who Tech for a while. So you've done this, held space for this kind of community for such a long time, which I'm actually so impressed that you're very open about the labels. You know, like it's cool to see that you've been in that space and you're still open about, let's all just kind of love is love sort of vibe. So yeah, so that's, you know, we've had many lifetimes, but that's the one that really stands out to me just because it was the most vivid. It happened the most recently, and I just really enjoyed that lifetime. It was like such a fun lifetime to be a part of. And this is the best lifetime, though, I have to say. This is the present moment is the best one. So yeah, thank you all so much for being here and supporting, and you know, the super chats and the love. You know, it's really nice to have a community in the spiritual community that is open-minded and open to this kind of dynamic and relationship, and I really appreciate that open-mindedness and that love. So thank you all so much for being here. Be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. And if you have, you know, maybe a niece or a nephew or a son or a daughter who is fluid, who is struggling maybe with their identity and they don't know where to go, or you're interested in crypto, you know, they share this video to your loved ones and to the people who could really use something that's motivational, but also taking a look at a relationship that isn't scared to go into those deep places and those challenging places, but also a relationship that works on so many levels as well, regardless of gender, you know?
Yeah. We all deserve to be happy.
Oh, that's so true. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week, and be sure to check out my my NASA interview happening on Wednesday with a rocket scientist, by the way. It was one of the most profound, incredible interviews I've ever had. Hey!
I just had to.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I gotta crawl over the table for this. Bye.